The following is a presentation from PokerStars.com. This week on the Big Game, young gun Jason Mercier has been the big winner, scooping up huge pots. Meanwhile, the Tony G and Phil Hellmuth battle shows no signs of a truce.
Getting abused.
All right, I'm steaming, pot it.
And our loose cannon has seen his stack and his dreams slowly dribble away.
Wow.
With just 30 hands to go, can Russ Harlow make a miracle comeback, or will another loose cannon bite the dust?
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Welcome once again to Las Vegas, where we are wrapping up another week of the Big Game. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose, and 6 players have a final chance to improve their bank accounts with more than $1.1 million on the table.
At 6'4", Phil Hellmuth is tall enough to ride this roller coaster. He was once up almost 75K, now he's down almost 75K.
So far this week, the MVP is Jason Mercier. He's the proud owner of a $170,000 profit.
Ike Haxton has had a good time yucking it up with Tony G at Phil's expense, and he's also probably enjoying being up over $33,000.
Tony G's also an MVP, most volatile prodder of Hellmuth. Tony started with a big game record buy-in and has turned a tiny profit.
Antonio Esfandiari covered up his best clubbing shirt because he just can't seem to find his groove. He's losing almost 130K.
The pressure is on the loose cannon Russ Harlow. The 39-year-old delivery man has 30 hands left to turn a profit, or he wins nothing. If he does win cash, then he must decide whether or not to come back next week and risk it. Russ is with Amanda Leatherman.
Russ, it's been a crazy week for you.
It has.
You're below the 100K mark. What are you going to do when you get out there?
I'm not sure. I'm hoping to get hit with the deck, but at this time, it might be time to go big or go home.
Are you a little nervous?
A little bit. It's stressful out there, but I'm having a really good time.
Is there a magic number that you're looking for right now? I know you told me earlier that there was a number that you would come back for.
Well, I think that it really depends what happens out there. I think it's kind of a liquid number.
All right, go get him, all right?
Thanks.
Once again, each cannon's been staked $100,000 to play and keeps all winnings above the initial $100,000. The loose cannon who wins the most money at season's end earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50K.
Russ has got a lot of work in front of him if he plans on catching our leading loose cannon, Nadia Magnus, who left with a profit of over $63,000.
So there are 30 hands left for the players to do a little more damage.
Russ has dipped down as low as 43.8 at one point in the game, but he's managed to work himself back up to basically even.
Ike Haxton gets us going and folds. Mercier, so hot all week. He's out. Phil raises to 2,000.
Phil knows Russ is the one with the time limit who needs to open his range, right?
Russ folds an ace.
Antonio's stuck, kind of looks like he's lost everything and just woke up in a bus terminal.
You have what, like 20?
25, 5.
You sure he's not wearing his Phil Laak outfit?
He borrowed Phil's hoodie.
Jack 9 for Tony. He's not going to fold.
Just because it's you.
Okay.
Everyone scoot up closer to your TV.
The flop, ace 5-5.
I just take it.
That was beautiful.
Wasted enough time here.
Yeah.
I was betting.
Great move by Tony. He folds and Phil can't even take credit for the win.
Here are the rules of the big game. Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. Every player begins with at least 100K, but can reload for up to $500,000.
Both Antonio and Ike have each reloaded this week.
Come on, Gina. Take care of Antonio one time.
One time?
He needs a little love, you know?
Give him a second best hand. I'll take the good one.
Mercier, under the gun, raises to 1,500. Action folds to Antonio, who calls.
Looks like dealer Gina did hook him up a little bit. She hooked him up with the second best hand.
Tony with queens just calls.
Tony just called for deception. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if Ike raised this.
Will Ike oblige? Nope, he just calls 2.
I'm actually a little surprised Tony didn't raise. I'm not sure what you gain in deception is worth having to face 3 opponents.
4 to the flop. Jack, Queen, King. Tony flops a set.
But this is a board that wouldn't typically be so great. We know it's pretty safe.
He bets 5,000. Haxton folds. Mercier's out.
Sled right out, huh?
So's Antonio. Tony wins.
And he looks thrilled.
Flop the set. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Set.
Flop the set. No one could put me on that hand.
I believe that you flopped the straight.
No, flop the set. So I was hoping you have the straight again.
2 jacks. Oh, you're hoping.
2 queens. 2 queens.
2 queens.
Pretty weird way to play it, but I did. Would have been like sick. Get this straight again.
No one believes him like he's the boy that cried set.
Action on Phil. Tony's good buddy. He folds. Jacks for the cannon.
18.
Raises to 1,800. Antonio folds. Queen 7 for Tony G, who's out.
2 black queens.
Haxton folds. So's Mercier.
No one's ready to gamble up with the cannon just yet.
We're keeping a constant eye on Russ's scoreboard. He's stuck 7,300 right now.
Now as play continues, watch for the rest of the table to widen their ranges, knowing Russ will have to widen his.
Action begins on the cannon. Father of 3 from Connecticut. Works as an overnight bakery delivery truck driver. And folds. So does Antonio. 8-7 for Tony. Raises to 1,300. Pocket 8s for Haxton.
Ike is on the button.
Calls. Ace Queen for Jason Mercier. He calls and fills out.
Yeah, what can I do?
Ike and Jason are both way ahead of Tony's cutoff range, and they're both way ahead of him for reals headed into the flop.
5 King Jack. Mercier checks his straight draw. Tony G checks nothing.
Ike's got the best hand. He probably thinks if someone had hit this flop, they would have bet it. And if they're drawing, he should make them pay. He doesn't want to give a hand like Jason's a free card.
Haxton fires 3 grand.
Jason's got 2 overs and a gut shot.
So he's sticking around. He calls. Tony folds. Board pairs on the turn. Mercier checks. Haxton checks.
Ike slowed down on the turn.
Queen on the river gives Mercier second pair.
Ike checked the turn and let Jason get there. It's not much of a chance he'll get called by a worse hand if he value bets.
He checks.
Check.
Ace queen.
Mercier wins another pot, this one of nearly 11,000.
It's a weird feeling I should bet again on the turn.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's what the loose cannon might be saying if he can't turn a profit. Time is running out for Russ. The big game is just heating up. More from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back to the big game, where this week's loose cannon, Russ Harlow, the father of 3 from Connecticut, has 25 hands left to turn a profit.
As time goes on, Russ is going to have to catch some cards because these guys will be looking him up with any 2 if they think he's desperate enough.
He's running out of time. He has to get over 100. How much exactly do you have?
I listen to him all the time, especially
Just under 90 now.
Just under 90. He has to get it in or not. I mean, he's running out of time.
Don't shortchange yourself, son. You've got over 92 grand. Jason is raised. Phil, suited. Do it.
It's almost like the chips are reluctant to leave his hand.
Do it. Do it!
Get in there.
I feel like Kinnison from Back to School. Do it!
Is she right?
He calls, finally. That was exhausting. Harlow folds.
Antonio's got the best hand. And it looks like he knows it.
Raises to 6,000.
These guys haven't been folding a lot of aces, but Antonio's been playing pretty snug in this game.
Mercier folds his ace.
Phil's hand isn't as good as the one Jason folded, but he would be drawing live if he called.
Hopefully it won't take him an hour to call.
Gonna pull that little skill crane move with the chips again.
This one was painless.
Antonio's stuck and maybe even a little steaming. See if the flop's painless.
All right, Antonio, how much?
4-8-10, Hellmuth, middle pair. Action on Antonio.
Phil's flopped the best hand. Antonio's just got ace high. Jason would have flopped top pair.
Is this no limit? It is, right?
It's Friday, dude. You should know the rules by now. Antonio puts Phil all in.
He knows Phil's likely to have missed the flop, but he didn't in this case. Phil pretty much has to call.
All right.
He does.
Oops.
Antonio got caught.
Deal.
I took some weird beats in this spot. I mean, at least get some insurance. What do you care if you moved in a week? I mean,
No.
he's got nothing.
You can take insurance.
Okay,
whatever you
so
want.
Man, you are tilting.
6 outs twice.
6K with the king 8. Just can't wait to get it all in, you know?
Oh, I hit an 8. I mean, that's the.
I understand.
That's what it is.
That's the thing.
Can we deal? Listen, I'm 130,000 stuck. I don't want to sit
You
here
are.
while you figure out insurance. So either do it now or let's go.
Yeah, I want. Well, I should take some insurance because I've been kind of unlucky in this one.
I understand, but I'm tilted. I don't want to sit around. I just want
That's
to play.
fair. Just give me a minute. Come on, it's reasonable. I'm also buried.
Not as much as me.
That's true. Are you going to give me a good rate?
I'm giving you the right.
You're giving me 10%
Corporation
again?
right. The
God,
corporation.
you guys are so brutal.
Steady
All right.
right.
So I'm about a 3 to 1 favorite.
20%. Yeah.
So I'm a little over 3 to 1 favorite.
20, maybe 23 and a half around.
Okay, then. So I'll insure it for 8,000. So it'll be 8,000 to like 24,000 or whatever it is.
There. You're on.
Okay, deal.
And you're running it once, I assume.
Yeah, once.
Yeah, we're running.
Yeah, one time.
We're running 4 times.
Sure, every time.
It'd be nice just to hit like an 8 and end it. I mean,
Here we go,
sweet,
the
but-
turn. 6 of hearts.
No, insurance is looking bad.
Okay, wait. Now he has 5 outs with 1 to come. So I'll insure it for another 3,000.
41.
2,000 I'll take. 2,000 more, Tony. Whatever it is.
Hey, whatever you want.
All right, 2,000. You guys can
So
win
it was
10,000. All right, go ahead.
8 on the flop, 2 more on the turn.
Yeah.
We're up for 20,000 each, minus the tax.
Phil's made a side bet to insure against an Antonio suck out. Antonio's looking for an ace or a jack.
Either way, you're going to be a winner. Smile.
Well, no, I mean, one way I've lost 10,000 insurance.
See how they come good though? It did.
But I've
The river's a 3.
finally won one. Damn it, cost myself. All right, that's 20.
I know who won't be doing magic at Phil's birthday party this year.
See how it is?
I see how it is.
26-8.
Antonio watches some of his cash end up at the other end of the table as Phil rakes in a pot of nearly 68K.
Damn insurance.
You must be this tall to ride. Check out the roller coaster for both Phil and Antonio. Phil's been up as much as 75,000, now stuck 32,000. Meanwhile, Antonio's ride started off down and has only fallen further.
It's bad when you fall almost off of our graphic. He's down over 164K.
Yeah, Antonio's cars come completely off the track.
Dang it, I took insurance. Why did I take insurance? I do love insurance because, I mean, at
Think
least.
about it that way. You don't even have to pay juice when you
won.
lose. Right? Yeah. It's actually juice free.
I know, but I didn't take it with the 9 where I would have collected 75,000. I took it this time. It's mildly aggravating, that's all.
Doesn't matter, but you won the pot. Everyone's happy you won. And now you could start the big run. And you have insurance money to work with now. You're behind. You can keep insuring until you get out.
Phil called. Russ raised. Antonio calls. Tony's out. Phil's in.
Chased insurance losses now.
The flop. 5-4-6. Bottom 2 pair for Phil. Antonio checks. Hellmuth checks.
That's a pretty wet board. Typically, you'd want to bet there and charge anyone to draw, so I'm not sure why Phil checked. Russ has 2 overs and a gut shot.
And fires $5 grand. That gets Antonio out. Phil calls.
Russ's hand is exactly the kind you'd want to charge to draw.
3 of clubs on the turn. This time Phil leads out, betting 8,000.
That's one of the cards Phil wouldn't want to see. That 3 makes a bunch of straight draws. Bad turn comes off, and now Phil bets.
Here, you got to pay this off. Cheap on the river. I'll be cheap.
The 3 didn't hit Russ, though, and he's got the wrong odds to call.
If you call this, my river bet's only going to be... I won't bet more than 10,000 on the river, okay? If you call this. I promise. I won't bet more than 10 on the river.
Russ's hesitation may have tipped Phil off. He seems pretty confident about his hand.
Russ raises to 20 grand.
Russ is trying to rep the straight.
How much do you have left?
Something wrong with Phil's chair?
Yeah, Tony put electric shock in it. Phil calls.
Good attempt by Russ, but either Phil has the right read or he's trying to suck out.
The river, the 4 of hearts, giving Phil a full house.
We'll find out how good Phil's read was by how big he bets here. If he bets huge, that means he put Russ on the straight. If he bets small, he's hoping Russ will call him light. Knowing what Russ has, I don't know if he can call 1 red cent.
I'm all in. 40,000.
Phil's all in.
That's 40,900.
After all that, Russ is not making this call with 9 high.
And he doesn't.
God dang it all. Why didn't I check? Everything. I didn't check it. What was I thinking?
Russ lost the hand, but he had the right idea on the turn to try to get aggressive.
A stack of yellow and a 5.
Yeah, but I mean, I forgot he had nothing. And he raised me with nothing on the turn. I forgot that.
Russ takes a blow to his stack. Can he recover in time to turn a profit? Find out when we come back on the Big Game. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the Big Game. Remember to log onto the website to see the stats for this table, watch bonus hands, and see footage deemed too hot for TV.
Our loose cannon Russ Harlow has 64,000 in front of him. Just 23 more hands to try to get that number up over 100.
Action on Jason Mercier, who has turned a tidy profit this week. He folds. Phil raises to 2,000. Harlow, Queen 9 suited.
Hands like this should be in Russ's range now.
He calls. Ace 9 for Antonio on the button. Repops to 8 grand.
Antonio's trying to isolate Russ.
Action folds around, back on over to Phil.
What do you have there, Antonio? 75 or what?
Just counted. I don't know. This is 75.
Phil might not be able to give Antonio credit for a hand since he is tilting a bit.
Phil calls.
Russ is dominated by both opponents.
But he makes the call.
At this point in the game, Russ is looking to play big pots. He's playing poker, but he's also playing the big game, so I can't fault him for making that call.
Deuce 6 tray, action on Phil.
Everyone misses, but Russ is drawing dead to a runner chop.
Hellmuth checks.
Russ doesn't have a hand, but he knows he has to make a move soon.
Harlow checks.
Antonio took charge of this hand with the pre-flop lead, and he's holding the ace of spades, which makes spades easier to bet into.
16-3.
Antonio makes it 16-3 to go. Phil folds. So's Russ.
Good bluff, Antonio.
Thank you.
So the continuation bet takes down the pot for Antonio, and folding to C-bets is a stat I've been watching closely all week. Tony folds to C-bets very rarely. He floats some and calls with small pairs even more. Antonio, though he's been folding to C-bets 100% of the time, was the aggressor this time with ace high. He's steaming a bit, but I like Antonio's stab at this pot, and it paid off for him.
Action begins with the man who folds to a C-bet half the time according to our stats, Phil Hellmuth.
Trying to guide you here and help you out.
And he will fold pre-flop here. So does the cannon. Antonio's out.
He's steamed right
King,
now.
queen for Tony.
What did you have, king 8 again?
No, I had queen jack offsuit. I should have just re-raised him anyway.
Raises to 1,500. Ace 8 for Ike. Calls.
He was only a small favorite, right?
And I bet 26,000. It's not like, you know.
You bet 26,000. You were a 3-to-1 underdog, right?
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
Mercier calls, so 3 to the flop.
Tony G is the slight favorite in this three-way pot.
4-6 queen.
Now he's a big favorite.
Top pair for Tony. Action on Ike. Bets 3,800.
Ike's donk betting, hoping everyone missed.
Mercier folds.
Tony's got top pair. See you at the river.
Makes a smooth call. The turn. The 5 of diamonds giving Ike a gut shot.
At least if Ike fires again, he'll be semi-bluffing instead of plain old bluffing.
Fires 10,500.
Pretty tough to get Tony G to fold top pair.
You're right. The river. Ace of clubs. Top pair for Haxton.
So Ike tried to take Tony off a pair on the flop, picked up more outs on the turn, so he double-barreled, and now he's hit his ace and might even feel like he can value bet.
How do I sign up for that?
Take a class and running good.
I'm not eligible. Haxton bets 24,300.
This is a big bet from the young poker wizard. It's about a 3/4 pot value bet. And I didn't think anything could take Tony G off top pair, but it's not top pair anymore. Tony G and Ike were once brothers in arms, needling Phil Hellmuth together. Now they've turned their bayonets on each other.
All of a sudden, this pot's gotten pretty big.
Ike paid off Tony earlier in the session with top pair when Tony raised the river with the nut straight. Let's see if Tony pays off Ike on the river here.
Tony folds.
Well done. Queen, king.
Disciplined fold from Tony.
That's what you had?
I had queen, king, yeah.
Riverous, miraculous, Ike waves his magic wand and summons the ace on the river.
With under 20 hands to play, can our cannon pick up a miraculous and turn a profit? We'll find out next. Welcome back to the big game in Las Vegas. Jason Mercier has been on top of the cash chart almost from the onset, but Joe, the big story is the loose cannon Russ Harlow.
That's right, all the attention is on Russ, who has just 16 hands remaining to try to get up above 100K. If he does, he'll have to decide whether or not he's taking his profits home or coming back next week.
The father of 3 from Connecticut said he would use some of the coin to buy a new minivan. Action begins on Phil, ace-jack. Raised to 2,000. Pocket pair for Russ.
Pot.
Raises to 7,200.
Russ is going to gamble up while he's got a decent hand to try to win the maximum. This may be as good a spot as he can hope for.
Action folds around. Back to Phil.
Phil knows Russ's range is pretty wide at this point.
How much more do you have?
A little less than 50,000 remaining for Russ. Phil calls and gives him the WWE stare down.
He's got 11 intercontinental belts.
Hellmuth off the top rope. The flop, 10-6 deuce, 3 clubs. Hellmuth checks the nut flush draw.
Russ has the best hand, but Phil does have the better draws and a decent shot of hitting one of his outs. A bet here from Russ, and these two could get it all in. No way Phil could fold 2 overs in the nut flush draw with 2 cards to come.
Harlow checks. The turn gives Russ a set.
And that's basically a 1-outer. The 8 of clubs would have made Phil's flush. The 8 kills Phil's overcards outs as well.
Hellmuth, chips in hand, leads out to 5,500.
Even though Russ was already ahead in this hand, this 8 will probably give him the confidence he needs to see it through to the end.
Gotta take a chance sometime.
I'm supposed to think you're weak, right? Because you're talking?
Didn't you read his book?
I won't bet more than 9,000 on the river if you call. If you raise, it's different.
Phil's giving him the same song and dance as before.
It's 54 or 55? I'm all in.
Russ Harlow, all in.
Russ just told Phil that song and dance is about as fresh as the Macarena.
How much more is it?
Now, if Phil were just up against a pair, he'd have pretty good equity in this hand. As it stands, he does not. With just 15 hands left, Phil knows Russ could jam with just about anything, so this decision for him may not be as easy as it seems.
Wow. Well, if he would have bet the flop, I would have shipped it right away.
Jason leaving the table. He's going to hang out over on the comfy couch.
It's my new favorite spot.
I know. You should just stay over here so I can have someone to talk to.
We need Phil to fold, I think. Because if he calls and loses or knocks him out, you know, then the cannon's either gone or doubled up over to 100.
Right.
So it's actually better for us if Phil folds.
Right.
Because then the cannon will still have like 65,000 or something, 60,000. So
What do you think's going to happen?
I think Phil's gonna fold.
Why check the flop? That doesn't make any sense.
A turned set is one of the most difficult hands to put an opponent on, and Russ is doing a great job of not giving anything away.
Wow, what if I call him and he shows me ace-queen, which I can't even beat?
If you just want to get TV time.
Antonio, you can come over here. Come join the party.
Jason calling for reinforcements.
And Tony G along for the ride, too.
Phil just said he can't beat ace-queen and hasn't folded yet.
Phil can't beat ace.
What do you think?
I saw his full ad. When he looked back, he has ace. I'm pretty sure he has ace jack with the ace of clubs.
All the time it takes is like he's playing a tournament, you know? It's like
That's why it takes so long.
I think he's playing a tournament in his head, you know? That's his chips. Decisions are down there, how many chips he has left. He's not going to call. If you can't beat ace-queen, how is he going to call?
Limping like any.
It's like insane to call for him.
See a flop and get it in with a flush draw. Yeah. As soon as you hit a flush draw,
He's probably got the ace, like the bare ace.
Like I want to be a cannon. Like I feel like
Probably got ace-jack and the bare ace.
It's a fantastic read by Tony G. Heard the production was going to bill Phil for this overtime, by the way.
Wait till he hears from the union.
Buddy, what do you have? I'm thinking about calling you with ace high. You like that? You want me in there or not?
I may watch too much Law & Order, but you don't have to answer that.
Dun dun.
Call or fold, I really think Phil probably should have made his decision by now.
I mean, I have ace jack, Antonio, with ace of clubs, and you know? And I mean, there's like
There's
how
a
many
lot
hands
going
left?
on, you know?
I know. I mean, I would have laid this down like before. He checked the flop. Now he just moved in.
It's frustrating the time we're wasting. It's unbelievable, and he doesn't even want to make a decision.
Tony's attitude toward Phil seems to have gone from playful to straight up annoyed.
Could be, you know.
Here come the men in black.
So you potted it before the flop.
Here we go again.
It's just ridiculous.
What's ridiculous?
I mean, just make a decision, you know? Like, there's other people in the game, too. You're a professional player playing against a loose cannon. I mean,
Now I'm trying to make a decision for 43,000. Can you just shut the up? Call
Are you a
floor
professional
man.
player?
Call floor man.
You're insulting everyone. I mean, we're here. We want to play too.
Personally, I'm enjoying the
I'm right in the middle of making a big decision right now, and he's completely out of line here. So I
think he's completely out of line because he's been taking forever to make a decision. Against an amateur player coming in here as the best player in the world, taking 15 minutes to make a decision.
I haven't taken 15 minutes. You want to bet on that?
Well, you will.
You're
that's
so
why
out of
I'm
line.
talking
You know,
about it.
your etiquette's horrible. Stay out of this.
Gentlemen,
stay out.
Okay.
Please.
Let him make a decision.
Yeah, let's hear your ruling.
We're going to put you on the clock right now. You got a minute and 10 seconds.
That's your ruling?
Right. You're going to let him make his play.
I hope you're proud of yourself, Tony.
Story checks out.
Obviously, I think ace high is good right now, okay? I mean, or I wouldn't be studying. I'm not putting it in to draw. He's running out of time.
Let's see if Phil is really willing to pull the trigger.
You got a pair?
Look, Phil, he's a father of 3. Russ is used to tuning out obnoxious noise. Antonio doing the 7th inning stretch.
Why check the flop and then move in on the turn? It's got to be a bluff. If you were going to bluff, why not bluff the flop?
Phil folds. And those are tears of joy.
If you're bluffing, I highly recommend showing. If you're bluffing, I highly recommend
King, queen
showing.
with the 1 club? He might have had Jack 9 or Queen 9.
You'll see the steam coming up.
You should show a bluff if you were bluffing, for sure.
He would show it if he
I would have.
He wasn't bluffing, but I'm sure he was still pretty dang happy not to get called.
Russ Harlow held strong against a world champ. Now does he know the directions to Profitville? Only 15 hands left to get there. Welcome back to Las Vegas. We are coming down to the wire this week on the big game.
That's right, Chris. Time is almost up for our loose cannon, Russ Harlow, and he's still over $30,000 away from $100K.
Action on Jason Mercier. Limps in.
There's still time to win like 150 for me. Things could get crazy.
Not for Phil on this hand. Russ raises to 1,400.
With so few hands left, Russ has to play big pots, and everyone knows his range is wide open. Antonio likes his hand against Russ's range, but he's trying to decide if he should isolate.
Antonio just calls.
Raise it.
Tony G raised to 3,200.
Leave it to good old Tony G to juice this pot.
Pocket pair for Ike Haxton in the big blind. But he folds.
Surprising fold. Ike doesn't want to gamble. Jason limped early to try to play a pot with the cannon, but he's probably not liking this action so far.
You are correct. So now back on over to the cannon.
Russ has got to see as many flops as he can at this point.
Calls another 1,800.
Antonio's got the best hand. Seems reluctant to put any more money in this pot.
But he does. 3 to the flop.
This is a very important flop for the loose cannon.
Ace, 8, 10, 2 clubs. Tony G, top pair, fires 5,400.
Russ has caught a piece of this flop, but it could be a very dangerous piece since both Antonio and Tony G have outflopped him.
Harlow, bottom pair. Calls.
Antonio's got Tony outkicked. He's pretty sure he's ahead of Russ. He must feel he's in a pretty good spot.
He raises to 17-5.
Antonio's raise is saying he thinks he has the best hand. He's been playing pretty tight all session, and he just raised 2 people, including one guy who 3-bet pre-flop. If Tony's thinking about making this call, it's because he's wondering if Antonio would make this play on a draw. We know Tony G hates to fold any pair, let alone top pair. There are straight and flush draws out there. I don't see Phil calling the clock on Tony. This is the kind of pot Russ has been looking for, but he is in terrible shape. Tony's reaching for chips.
Wow, Tony folds top pair.
Very good laydown from Tony G.
And Russ is out as well. Antonio takes the pot.
Oh, I think I saw one.
He shows the 9.
Saw 9 or 7 of clubs.
Or did you see the jack?
I thought he was shipping it for sure.
I should have shipped it. I just didn't. No. So I lay down on a big hand.
Russ slips even further away from profit.
There's only 5 hands left. Time is running out for him to do any damage. Jason, 5 high, limps. 9. Ace for Phil Hellmuth. He also limps.
We've got some more limping, which is basically like the vulture circling.
Russ raises to 2,000. King, queen. Antonio calls. Tony G, small blind. He's out.
Everybody wants a piece of this loose cannon money. Ike got out of the way last time when he had 2 7s.
Ike folds. Jason calls. Phil raises to 11-2.
Hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your husbands too, because they raising everybody out here.
Oh, boy. Decision time now on Harlow. You can see how much he's got left.
How much?
9,201.
Might as well give it to me.
Phil limp re-raised in order to isolate the cannon. At this point, I don't think Russ has much of a choice.
He calls. Antonio folds. So's Jason.
We just saw these two dance a few moments ago. Looks like they're ready for their next song.
The flop. King, 5, king, trip kings for Harlow.
Russ has crushed this flop.
Hellmuth checks.
Russ should bet here to try to get some value. He doesn't have a lot of chips or a lot of time. He's probably doing everything he can to not jump out of his seat. One reason why playing on the internet's better.
He bets 20,000.
How much you have left?
45,000.
45 total. Gets them all in.
Phil puts Harlow all in.
No chance he's folding. I think he's just taking a moment to soak it all in.
And Russ calls.
Wow. That's the way it's been going for me.
That's sick. That's the worst.
I think he just got over 100.
He will if his hand holds up.
He was folding. I was like, oh, well, that's probably a call.
That is the worst.
Phil is drawing virtually dead.
I just got over 100. He just has to dodge 2 more hands and come back tomorrow. So sick.
I'm glad I hit it to 5.
What are you thinking? Are you thinking backdoor flush?
What do you mean, what am I thinking? He has to move in, right? I mean, he
Oh, I mean, you can't move in unless he has a hand. I mean,
How much? 10, 20, 30, 40, 40. What do you mean, what am I thinking? What the I mean, well, I got in, there's 30,000 in there or whatever. I mean, I'm playing no matter what. I have to give him a chance to bluff off his money. That's the only reason I check.
Phil can only hit running aces or running hearts.
you want insurance here?
So brutal. What a day.
There's some way we can
The
insure.
guy folded so many hands, just waited, and then Phil Hellmuth just doubles them up. You know, no problem.
Instead of like betting 5, and you could just bet 5 and fold. You could put 45 in.
Russ is picturing driving his kids around in that new minivan.
The turn. It's a 6, and Russ has a profit.
Why would he bet 20,000? It doesn't make any sense. If he had a king, why would he bet 20,000?
Because he knows his opponent will ship it with ace high, you know? That was deep level kid, you know? High tech.
46. He's over now, right? I don't know. I was just. He's got like 110. He's got like 110.
I needed that.
Well done. Well done, man.
That was so sick.
Very nice.
I got one of these. That's kind of
all
really pretty.
Slapping high fives and clapping again.
Russ is up 20 grand. Will he hang on to it? Will he come back next week? We'll find out next. Welcome back to the big game in Las Vegas, where our delivery man for baked goods, guy who works a graveyard shift, is all smiles. Russ Harlow has turned a profit with one hand to go, Joe.
As long as he doesn't dip below 100K on this final hand, he'll have the option to leave with cash or come back next week.
Ike Haxton is done playing for the week. So is Mercier. So is Phil.
Probably not there.
Ace queen for Harlow.
Let's see if Russ came to knit up or chip up.
Wow. Call.
He calls. Price went up a little bit because Tony G straddled. Antonio calls as well.
I feel bad now.
Queen 9 suited for Tony.
Tony's out of position and he's dominated.
Raises to 2,800.
Of course he does.
And Russ calls.
He came to play, Chris.
Dude, you got a profit. Hang on to that thing. Antonio folds.
One more big flop for Russ.
Actually, it's a big flop for Tony. Top pair for Tony G.
Tony boinked a 3-outer.
Russ checks. Tony bets 3,000. And Russ folds.
Russ plays cautiously and locks himself up a profit. Gotta wonder if he would have played a little differently if it wasn't the last hand of the night.
Like, I don't know.
Well, Tony G's all happy. He'll walk away a winner. But actually, the game now continues for this man, Russ Harlow. It is decision time as we take a look at the final leaderboard. Joe, he has to figure out whether to take this profit and go home or come back and risk it next week.
Well, Russ said he wanted to pay off some bills and buy the family a new minivan. I'm not sure 16-4 is enough to do that.
There's also that NAPT passport, which goes to the leading loose cannon. Nadia Magnus currently has it with more than 63 grand in profits. Let's get the decision and throw it to Amanda.
All right, Russ, you've played all week. You're up $16,400. You have a huge decision to make. You can either keep those winnings or come back next week for the chance to increase that stack and go after that NAPT passport you kept talking about. What's it gonna be?
This is the big game. And I came to go big.
Yeah?
I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna try to earn that passport and I'm gonna try to make a big payday.
Coming back.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for tonight, guys. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now. And remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. Good night, everybody.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you next week.
I mean, look, he's no donut delivery guy, Russ. He's a much better player than that.
I wish him the best next week. Yeah, he has to come back. He's only up, $16,000, and he has a chance to win, 100, maybe even 200K plus the NAPT passport.
You could walk away with 16,000 and wake up when you're 80 going, oh, you know what? I should have gone back the next time and taken another shot. So I say go for it. Maybe you win 200.
The preceding was a presentation from PokerStars.com.